And I'll start rattling through.
Yeah,
I believe you have a new album coming out in a couple of days' time.
absolutely. Yep, this Friday.
So another one of your nice lengthy titles as well. So When Life Was Hard and Fast. It's a little bit shorter than the last one, to be fair.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So and the title comes from the first track, which has a bit of a background to it. So how did you pick that one out as the title?
When we wrote the song, when Keith Nelson, myself, and Sam Robinson wrote the song, When Life Was Hard and Fast, that title just immediately jumped out to me as something that I had a very strong connection with lyrically, because the song being really about growing up in Northern Ireland in the sort of 70s and 80s. And I just thought this encompasses the whole album really well. I mean, as soon as I saw it straight away, Ian, I was like, that's the album title. I mean, we're done. Doesn't matter what else I write. That's the album's going to be called that. And I could visualize the album cover. Suddenly, all the sort of dots got connected then, you know what I mean? Just one of those moments, when Sam sort of sent through the lyrics and I saw that title, I was like, yep, that's it. That's the album title right there.
I mean, the songs as a whole follow on quite well from when Patsy Cline was famous. It's you seem to write not necessarily so much from experience, but in thoughts and opinions and emotions. Would you say this?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's absolute experience. I would throw in experiences in with that as well. Being too, it's thoughts, opinion, emotions, and experiences very, very much so. I have to have some kind of connection to something that I write, or I would struggle to write about it. Obviously, you're allowed a bit of artistic license. We can all embellish things, and there's that creative process that you go through because you want to make it as interesting as you can to yourself, but certainly to the people that are going to listen to it. Yeah, I just kind of read about what I know. It's a diary. You're putting your diary out there for everybody to see. This is what I think. This is what happened to me today. This is what happened to me 30 years ago and how I felt about it. This is what happened to my friend. This is what I saw in the news today, and this is what I think about it. So that's the way I look at it. It's a diary. You're putting your diary out there to let everybody read your mind, basically.
Well, you're saying about experiences. One that does jump out. I had a look through the details about the songs. Is make sure I get the name for it. Never Corner a Rat. That was actually based on a conversation you had with.
Yeah, it was. I've got a few friends that have been in the military, both in the UK and both over here in the States. And this actually was one chap I met after a Black Star Rider show a few years ago when we were on tour with Judas Priest. He came to the show. And I met him after the show and we got talking, and he basically was just, it's the old adage, there's not enough help here for these guys that are over in places like Iraq and Afghanistan and beyond, serving our country and fighting to maintain our freedom. And they come back home after maybe 20 years of service and there's not the support I think that they deserve. And he certainly felt that his country had let him down in regards to that he'd given his all for his country, and his country hadn't returned the favor, as it were. Yep. It was just a really interesting conversation, and he was very resilient and very like, I'm not giving up, because I'm a fighter and I've fought for my country, so I'm certainly not gonna. No, I'm gonna get back home. I'm going to get the help I need and try and get through it. But I feel that we don't give our veterans the respect that they deserve.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would agree with you on that. To be fair. Let's say I'm just plucking one or two of the songs there. I've obviously had to listen to the album and reviewed it really. Again, it's another great compilation of songs.
Thank you.
And one of the things that strikes me is the variety. That's always something I like when I listen to an album. Although a band or an artist can have a sound, you don't want to hear the same song 8, 9, 10 times over. Sure. You want a bit of variety, and that's one of the things I really enjoyed about this and your last album as well.
Thank you.
One that does stick out is Time Don't Seem to Matter.
Yeah.
Which is a very different song from the rest. You've got your hard rocking ones, like the opening track. You've got You're My Rock and Roll at the end, which is just a brilliant hark back to the old 60s and 70s kind of good old fashioned rock and roll songs.
Very much so.
This one really seems personal.
Yeah, it's about my daughter. It was written for my youngest daughter, Pepper, and it was written really quickly. It was written I had a couple of days off between shows. 3-4 years ago, I was back home in Belfast for in between shows and staying at my cousin's house. I'm really missing the family back home, and just I'd been out on the road for about 4 or 5 weeks at this point, and just picked it up and wrote it. And I wrote it for my daughter. And when we got in the studio, myself and Keith Nelson, who co-produced the record with me, I was like, I'd really like Pepper to come in and sing on this. I said, you know, because she's really into her music. She's playing a couple of instruments. She sings great. And I just said, look, it would be really special. It would make the song really special because it's about her. And I just said, so I said to her, hey, kiddo, you know, the song's about you. You want to come in and sing on it? And she's like, yeah, no problem. So she came into the studio and hung out for the day with us, and we had a lot of fun. And she did a great job. She did a really good job on it. A real proud dad moment for me, obviously, as well.
Yeah, it's nice to hear. Looking back at the album as a whole, were you due a solo album at the minute, or did you end up having to think about, I need to produce something? You couldn't do a band album because of the lockdown scenario, or was it just this was the right time for it?
No, I mean, the lockdown didn't affect this album at all. Ian, this album was written and recorded pre-pandemic. The album was recorded in April 2019, so it had no effect on it whatsoever. I mean, I have to schedule, everything's sort of written around schedules. Obviously, Black Star Riders takes priority, so we've been so busy with Black Star Riders since 2016, since my last record. Well, obviously, we put out Heavy Fire, and then we put out Another State of Grace. And we've been on the road constantly. So it was finding the time and the space to get the songs written, and then to get into the studio to record them, and then looking at the calendar. Obviously, this is pre-pandemic. I look at the calendar and going, okay, when can we release this? When am I going to have a window? Because, you know, I want to put a record out and then I want to tour it. So you've got to look, okay, it's going to be a year. So that'll be a year out from Black Star Riders if I put a solo record out. So you have to take all that into consideration. And, you know, and then the pandemic sort of came along, boom, right in the middle of it. But we stuck to our guns. We decided we were always going to release the record in February 2021. And we stuck with that.
Yeah, and just fingers crossed things start to open up and you can get some live shows under your belt.
That's all we can do.
We'll see.
All we can do is keep our fingers crossed, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the minute you're kind of juggling 2.5 acts, if you like. I love the way that Thin Lizzy is now, like different from Black Star Riders. It's a natural progression. I like the way you've drawn a line in the sand. But
thank you. I do too.
Yeah, I think it's really good. Like, a few bands who've dragged on a bit too long with not enough members could learn a lesson from that. I think, a band changes at some point. But obviously, you write for both the bands. At some point, when you're writing a song, do you think that one's for me? Do you think that one's for Black Star Riders, or do you get yourself in the mood first?
No, absolutely. I'll get an idea and I'll go, yeah, I can definitely hear, what the other 4 boys are going to bring to this in Black Star Riders. So let's take this into Black Star Riders. Or I'll write and go, no, this is definitely a Ricky Warwick song. I'm going to finish this one as much as I can on my own. Or, I have a gut instinct what's going to work. I mean, there's definitely some tunes on the solo record that could have been Black Star Rider songs. Because I can't separate myself from myself. Like I'm a predominant writer, obviously in Black Star Riders, and then obviously my solo stuff. So you can't separate yourself from yourself. So you're always going to have certain songs that would have crossed over. But I don't think I ever sell Black Star Riders short. I'm always turning up for the writing sessions, Black Star Riders, armed with tons of material. And I think the guys in BSR trust me enough that they know that I'm not going to let them down and sort of hog all the good stuff for the solo thing. It doesn't work that way. I mean, I just want to try and write the best songs that I can at that moment in time. If it's for BSR, great. If it's for me, great. Going back to something you mentioned earlier on, the cover photo from When Life Was Hard and Fast. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Yeah, that's a shot from a road race that used to take place between sort of 1926 and 1938. And it was round North Down. I'm from County Down, originally in Northern Ireland. It was round North Down, and it was it was like a Formula One race of its day, except that it wasn't on a circuit. It was actually on the country roads. And these guys were, in my opinion, bonkers. They're driving those quite primitive cars, 80, 90 miles an hour. And there's no health and safety at all back then. Yeah. And they were the Formula One drivers of the day. And this race would attract over 250,000 people every year to watch it. And part of the circuit used to come around the old family farm where I grew up on, and one of the notorious corners on the circuit was a corner of a field on the farm, and my grandfather used to rent the field out to the spectators to watch the race. So that shot that depicts the crash scene is a corner of that field of the actual farm of my grandfather's farm.
So you originally grew up almost like a farming boy back in County Down in the day, yeah. I'm going to go back into a little bit of your history now, and I've got a couple of good reasons for it.
No problem.